Anyway, so let's see what Ben and not Ben, or whoever this is, has to say about QAnon without actually saying the word because they're afraid they're going to get banned. Ben and not Ben are also funded by a Chinese cult. Is that true?
2019 will reveal so much more.
This is outdated, obviously, because it's over a year old, but that's why I wanted to look at it, because I wanted to show you, like, these people saying, like, 2019 is going to be the year that the deep state goes down, and of course nothing happened in 2019 that would be considered, like, proof QAnon exists or anything.
On today's Edge of Wonder, special guest David Wilcox says, get ready.
We are being promised a treasure trove of new information.
Do tell, David. Anything we've been waiting for?
According to what the briefings have said, the tribunals have now begun.
Well then,
We are actually seeing this happen.
we swear to tell the truth.
There's
No,
very exciting stuff
they're not
going
telling
on.
the
The
truth.
whole truth.
The scope of these crimes
Can we consider
is
the
horrific.
deep state a
And
free
nothing-
space? It'll probably
This
get mentioned.
is really heavy.
But the truth.
This year, the criminals who run the deep state
There's the deep state anyway.
will be
So, yeah.
exposed. This is huge, huge information. Do you want to know who they are?
Yeah.
This is explosive stuff. So buckle your seatbelt. Here we go.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Crazy right. Thanks for
Edge of
subscribing. Your
Wonder.
stream is getting you through a very
Welcome,
boring
everybody,
workday.
to
So
another
thank you,
special
Hannah. And the
episode
lipstick
with
is
our
lovely. Thank
very
you.
wonderful
Oh, Ben and
guest,
not Ben.
Mr.
They are
David
here.
Wilcock, who's on, I guess this would be our fourth
Episode with
fourth
David.
episode with David.
Yeah,
It's great having you, David.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thanks so
joining
much.
us.
Nothing funny about
really
the tools
appreciate you
of
being here. So
capitalism.
we heard that you actually had some special briefings for us, and we're pretty
Freaking Out 99 says, I love Dave Wilcox's alien stuff. He talks about it like it's his fan fiction. I mean, that's what it is.
excited.
Well, I don't know if you want to rush right into it without any foreplay, but what the hell? Let's just go for it.
Well, we don't have to jump right into it. We can kind of work
I'm
our
ready
way
to
up
go,
there.
David. I'm ready for some world exclusives.
No, there's very exciting stuff going on. Everybody who is working in this category that we've been working in has reason for celebration now, because it does
There's
appear
nothing funny about the tools
after
of capitalism.
all this time that the Alliance has been working on the defeat of the Cabal, that we are actually seeing this happen. According to what the briefings have said,
The Cabal, by the way, a lot of the QAnon conspiracy theories are basically just anti-Semitism repackaged in such a way as to be more palatable for people who don't think of themselves as racist or Nazis. This whole idea of like a cabal that feasts on the blood of children is not a new one. It goes back a long ways, and it goes back a long ways into the history of anti-Semitism, where people thought like, oh, Jewish people would break into your house at night and suck your baby's blood. Like, it's basically just that conspiracy theory rebranded. So, you know, nothing new under the sun. Just something to bring up.
the tribunals have now begun. So this is huge, huge information, and it does provide an interesting
There's nothing funny
context.
about the tools of
Does this
capitalism.
qualify as vampires? No, vampires, they actually have to say the word vampires.
To why we are currently, at the time of this taping, seeing the longest shutdown of the government in American history, allegedly based over this fight for the border wall, but that seemingly is not the main reason for what's actually happening here.
No, it was over the border wall. It was over the border wall.
There's
It was
nothing
over the
funny
border
about the
wall.
tools
That's
of
what it was.
capitalism.
And it ended. And it ended because there was something about putting some money into border security. It's been a while. The only thing that breaks into houses at night are incubus femboys. MMO addicted to the 10 bits, thinly veiled
There's nothing funny about the
anti-Semitism
tools of
dough.
capitalism.
Let's see. I'll call Cabal as that. Sure. Sure. Thinly veiled anti-Semitism. I think Cabal tends to fall under that.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Crazy right. That sort of anti-Semitism has existed since Chaucer's time, so yeah, it ain't new, yeah. They just medicalized it by being like, oh, they're not just sucking your baby's blood, they're abusing them and harvesting adrenochrome. They make it sound, you know, science-y by saying like, oh no, they're not just sucking blood, they're actually using a chemical, you know what I mean? But it's the same thing.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I mean, this is what a lot of people have been talking about. So like with the shutdown, I mean, there's so many people, like the whole community, Q community, and just wondering, is this really happening? And then you have these letters that were delivered during the Bush funeral.
Right, and then
oh
today,
my god, these people are so stupid. We've been over this before. They're looking at like the itinerary, the program. They're looking at the program for the funeral. We've been over this in previous videos, and they get so hung up on this like, ooh, look, we have photos of Hillary Clinton and Obama and various people looking at these envelopes. Yeah, they're the program for the funeral. Have you never been to a funeral before?
For instance, it's really funny when you watch kind of what's happening on the surface. You have like Trump and Nancy Pelosi going back and forth, and there's this like banter going on, right? You kind of look at that and you're wondering like, is this the whole story? And like, so it's really interesting to hear from you right now with all of this going on, because obviously it's not the whole story. There's more going on behind the scenes.
Is 4chan a free square, or does it have to be referenced? It has to be referenced specifically.
Well, I told you guys in our previous interview round, because we taped off.
Because QAnon, well, it did start on 4chan, it's moved to 8chan, and then 8chan turned to 8kun, and it was also on qmap.pub, but I think that just got shut down. So, like, QAnon, well, it started on 4chan, is not always on 4chan, and in fact, at this point, I don't think it's on 4chan at all. They might have banned it. But it's definitely on, like, 8kun or whatever the heck it's called.
All three of those episodes at once, that we were not getting any briefings at all. I mean, it was a very long dry spell. That has changed as of the beginning of the year. Now, one of the things...
Where is this guy claiming to be that he thinks he's getting briefings from people inside the government that know things? Like, this video's from February of 2019, so clearly he was wrong about whatever he's about to say. So, like, why do they keep bringing this huckster on to act as though he knows anything? This is the same guy that in a previous video talked about the government developing robot dinosaurs. Like, this guy's a crackpot.
that I think is really important that... And
what's Baja? Baja is my girlfriend. She if you're talking about the Baja Blasts space, basically,
There's nothing funny about the tools
she's
of
a
capitalism.
4th-year PhD candidate in developmental biology, and if sometimes when like anti-science stuff gets said, she'll get mad and come in here and yell about it to the idiot in the video, and that's what we call Baja Blasts, because her name on Twitch is Baja Blast.
you know, we're not the only ones talking about this.
The Stellar Sea Cow. Weird Twitch just completely kicked out for me, and my neighbor across the street is CIA. Coincidence? Yeah, probably.
This is something that many YouTube...
Dinosaurs? Why? Well, let me ask you this question. If you're developing weaponized robots for the government, what form factor are you going to use if not a velociraptor? It's nature's perfect predator. He also said the robot raptors could dodge bullets. So, can we skip to the anti-science video so we can all get the Baja Blast space? No. No, we can't. The bingo game is pure, and I will not be manipulated as an impartial judge.
Channels and many bloggers have been writing about this stuff. But you have this 2018 amendment to the court-martial executive order that was passed. And everybody talks about this thing because it actually justifies the use of military tribunals.
It's ran by a cult called Falun Gong. Hold on. This is the whole New Tang Dynasty Television. New Tang Dynasty Television is a U.S. television broadcaster founded by Falun Gong practitioners based in New York City with the correspondents in over 70 cities worldwide. The station was founded in 2001 as a Chinese-language broadcaster, but has since expanded its language offerings. The company retains a focus on China in its news broadcasts and frequently covers topics that are censored in mainland China. Won't lie, robot dinosaurs sound awesome. I suppose. I don't think they sound awesome in service to America's imperialist agenda, but you know, hey, whatever. Edge of Wonder. A widely viewed YouTube video channel produced by NTD called Edge of Wonder has been criticized for spreading pseudoscience and right-wing U.S. conspiracy theory QAnon. A critical article in the Daily Dot in August 2019 said Edge of Wonder hosts embrace QAnon completely, even though almost nothing QAnon is foretold has actually taken place. The Daily Dot article pointed to incidents of violence by QAnon believers. A host of Edge of Wonder, Ben Chasteen, responded that, quote, true researchers of Q would never take any violent action against the American people or any other kind of race. Oh, wow. Literally a no true Scotsman. Lovely. So this is, I guess, the group that funds them. Falun Gong, standard Mandarin Chinese, this. Literally, Dharma wheel practice or law wheel practice is a new religious movement. Falun Gong was founded by its leader Law Hongzhi in in China in the 90s. Today, Falun Gong maintains an informal headquarters, Dragon Springs, a 400-acre compound around the hamlet of Cudbickville in Deep Park, New York. Ooh, I'm having a hard time with proper nouns today. Located near the current residence of Li Hongzhi, Falun Gong's performance arts extension Shen Yun and two closely connected schools, Fei Tian College and Fei Tian Academy of Arts, also operate in and around Dragon. What do they believe? Hold on. Central Teachings. Cascadian 93 with a bit, but not like actual Velociraptor, which are no taller than a largest dog and had feathers. The Jurassic Park ones, which are taller than a person and can communicate like dolphins. Yeah. Central Teachings. Falun Gong aspires to enable the practitioner to ascend spiritually through moral rectitude and the practice of set exercises and meditation. The three stated tenets of the beliefs are truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. These principles have been repeated by Falun Gong members to outside as a tactic for evading deeper inquiry, and followers have been instructed by Li to tell lies about the practice. Cascadian 93. As someone who took Chinese as a second language, I demand an apology for that wiki reading. I do apologize. I'm real bad. The Falun Gong are insane. You get root races and super racist stuff in those teachings. Oh no. They're like racist. Argonian Bum, thank you for hosting. Go check out Argonian Bum. Together, these principles are regarded as fundamental nature of the cosmos, the criteria for differentiating right from wrong, and are held to be the highest manifestations of Tao or Buddhist Dharma. Adherence to and cultivating of these virtues is regarded as the fundamental part of Falun Gong practice. In Zuhan Falun, oh god, the foundational text published in 1995, Li Hongzhi writes, it doesn't matter how mankind's moral standards change, the nature of the cosmos doesn't change, and it is the only standard for determining who's good and who's bad. So to be a cultivator, you have to take the nature of the cosmos as your guide for improving yourself. Falun Gong. Okay. Falun Gong. Practitioners of Falun Gong consist of two features: performance of the exercises and the refinement of one's Xinzing, moral character, temperament. Okay, guess these people fund Edge of Wonder. Strange.
Against people who are not normally military personnel, but are in a position to commit acts of treason against the country. And that document does state that the legal imprimatur for these tribunals to take place begins as of January 1st, 2019. So much like I remember Gulf War I, where January 15th was the deadline, and as a kid in 1991, we didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but then they started bombing Iraq on that very day, like down to the minute, 12:01 a.m. I think is when it started. It seems like it's the same thing, like the actual very day that they were able to start doing.
Are you literally using an example in history of a deadline happening and someone using something immediately and then comparing it to a different thing, which is not the same thing at all? It's a law that went into effect and it changed the way that you could have tribunals about someone committing treason. That doesn't mean that they made the law specifically to try specific people and they were just waiting for the thing to change. Like, what? Laws change all the time, and they usually have a specific date they go into effect. That doesn't mean every single law is put into place specifically to convict specific people, and they're literally waiting for the clock to strike midnight for them to be able to do that. What are you talking about? MMO Addicted with 5 bits. If memory serves, the Falun Gong are linked to epoch times and lots of anti-Semitic stuff. Yeah, a lot. Why do all these conspiracies come back to anti-Semitism? What is up with that? Why? What is the point?
These tribunals legally, based on the executive order they passed, that's when they actually began.
You know, and what's interesting is that a very similar situation happened in China. I mean, like, when Xi Jinping came into power, you know, the old leader, Jiang Zemin, he basically had
It was Hu Jintao.
Well, Hu Jintao, but he was still kind of acting under
proxy.
Yeah, I mean, so in other words, when he came into power, Xi Jinping, realistically, he didn't have any power. The old leader, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao was just like a pawn, really. Had all his own people in place. So even though he came into power, there was really not much he could do. But slowly, they started to where they were just arresting, I think around over 200,000 officials have now been arrested in China.
Yeah, it's China. China's a totalitarian state, and I have no idea if what they're talking about in these, like, arrests about corruption are actually about corruption or not, because it's from China, and I don't necessarily believe the things that come out of China if we're talking about official Chinese, like, this is why we're arresting officials. There are a million and one reasons they might be arresting officials, but, like, what does this have to do with the United States? The United States isn't China, luckily. And if it was, it would be a bad time. They have to, though, because they're funded by them. I know. It doesn't make it better, though.
And a lot of them had ties directly to the persecution of Falun Gong and the underground Christians and whatnot.
They literally just mentioned the group that are funding them. Shouldn't you disclose that they're funding you guys if you're going to talk about them? Stellar Sea Cow. Note to the Falun Gong have been tortured and persecuted by the Chinese government. Yeah, the Chinese government doesn't like basically any group that doesn't conform to what the Communist Party in China wants them to be, and outside religion they're not a big fan of.
But on the surface, they just used, like, corruption, just a general term of corruption or money laundering or whatnot, you know. And then we started seeing it happening in Saudi Arabia with all the princes and everything recently just getting arrested. And this is something Rob and I have been talking about a lot. It's like, when are we going to start seeing it happen over here? And to me, to both of us, this really looks like this is the beginning of it, because...
But, like, you guys are advocating for QAnon stuff, and you think it's a good thing, but the thing you're comparing it to is literally, like, dictatorial governments purging dissidents from the government, which is a bad thing. And if we ever see, like, if Donald Trump continues to, like, be in power, or anyone else who's in power, and we see mass purges of government employees like that, not a good thing. It means that they're trying to get rid of people who disagree with them, and that's a bad thing to have happen in a democracy. Like, why are you guys saying, like, when is this gonna happen here, while also being like, but I kind of hope it happens here to the deep state? Like, what are you talking about?
Because they can't come out and use, you know, killing babies, satanic worshiping, and everything else. So it seems...
Oh, why? Because there's no evidence that any of that has taken place? Because that seems like a pretty good reason not to arrest someone when there's no evidence a crime happened.
Like, they're going to be using these other aspects of various different things of, like, tax evasion.
Whatever they can get.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be stupid. That would be incredibly stupid. If you had actual evidence that people were involved in the abuse, kidnapping, and murder of children, you would charge them with that. The only reason you would charge them with other things is because you don't have the evidence that they committed the other crime.
Let's get into the limelight, basically, right?
So, I mean, is that what you think would happen? Like, we're not really going to see these huge, big, massive, horrible crimes, but we'll see these other...
Or do you think we're actually going to start seeing these massive crimes?
I don't know. It's
There's
anybody's
nothing funny about
guess.
the tools
And
of capitalism.
one of the insider leaks that I wanted to read from directly, and I'll read it off of my computer, and you guys can bring the tweet up.
Tanthier, thanks for
There's a
subscribing.
couple of tweets that came in from the legendary hacker Kim.com. Now, before I read these to you guys, I want to set this story up a little bit. There's a really cool movie you can watch.
Yeah, that counts as satanic child abuse, by the way. He said that, so if you have that, get it.
About Kim.com that describes how he was involved in creating Mega Upload, which in the old days there was Napster and there was LimeWire, and this was one of the kind of file sharing sites. And he found a way to monetize that file sharing and ended up getting in a lot of trouble with the big corporate labels for movies and music and so forth.
Yeah, because his site was storing and distributing movies for free to people, and they had ads and stuff. Like, again, like, we can talk about piracy and the ethics of it. I mean, you guys have seen my computer. You know I have a torrents folder. But, like, the reason he got in trouble was because he committed crimes, right? Like, there are a lot of things we could talk about in terms of, like, oh, I don't think it's too bad, whatever, but, like, I get it. I understand why he got taken down by the studios, because he was platforming a site that allowed people to share their content for free. Like, that's illegal.
So he's gone through a lot of persecution. He had his house raided. But in the process of having all this, if you will, deep state activity coming at him, he got directly in touch with WikiLeaks. So Kim.com is in a position to know some very incendiary stuff. So I first want to read you.
Like what? Why would he have information that other people don't have just because he was the founder of Mega Upload? What information do you think he has on specific individuals within the government that no one else has, and why would he have them? Because of WikiLeaks? Because you shouldn't necessarily trust everything that comes out of WikiLeaks at this point. They've published some pretty questionable shit.
A tweet that he made that was very controversial back in February 2018. So let's start with that one now. You guys can bring that one up here.
Stay tuned for more from The Edge.
He said on February 18th, 2018, "Let me assure you, the DNC, Democratic National Committee hack, wasn't even a hack. It was an insider with a memory stick. I know this because I know who did it and why. Special Counsel Mueller is not interested in my evidence. My lawyers wrote to him twice and he never replied." And then he says 360 pounds where he's responding.
That's quite a claim. And if Kim.com says that that is true, then he needs to provide evidence to that fact. You can't just believe him just because he says it, right? Like, that's a pretty extraordinary claim to say. By the way, you know that thing that affected the presidential election in 2016? I know who did it. Like, okay, if you know who did it, then you need to actually provide evidence. And I understand he's saying that his counsel reached out to Mueller, and I don't know if that happened, but you need to provide evidence. You can't just say stuff.
To a Trump that
That's not true. It was a spear phishing email attack. Oh, so he was lying. I'm shocked.
Trump that tweet had made. Yeah, a tweet that Trump had made in which he had said something about a 400-pound blogger. So let's look at this quote very carefully. What is he saying here? We're talking about the entire argument that has been used to try to delegitimize Trump winning the 2016, I believe, is the election. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like it's been that long, does it?
No, not at all.
Anyway, this Russia hacking thing, this Russia collusion thing, that was the substance of the whole argument.
Yes, and our, oh god, why am I blanking? Our intelligence community has confirmed, and so has Senate intel reports, that yes, Russia was involved in that. Russian hackers were literally indicted by the Mueller investigation on this stuff. Like, we know this happened at this point.
Substance of the Mueller investigation, all we ever hear about it.
You can argue whether or not you think it actually tipped the scales enough to change the election, and if it didn't happen, would things have happened differently? That's a completely different discussion. But we do know that Russia made an intentional and successful effort to get its hands on files to try and influence the election. Whether you think they were successful or not, that's a different question.
Is this
Tucker White 94 with a bit. Anyone can make claims. For example, did you know Hannah once killed a Martian on Venus? A lawyer at NASA told me. That's actually true. That's true. I have photos.
stuff? And it's really frustrating because, as he's saying in this tweet, this was not Russia. This was somebody within the DNC who had a memory stick.
Let's see. Do I believe the entire United States intelligence apparatus, including a special counsel investigation by Robert Mueller and Senate intel reports, or the guy who invented Mega Upload saying stuff on Twitter?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Ben and Ben like this one for some reason. MMO addicted with 5-bit. Speaking of Venus, I heard they found some potential evidence of life in the atmosphere. Is it true or BS? Does anyone know? I haven't even heard of it.
And who actually copied the files and gave them to him, gave them to Kim.com, and Mueller doesn't want the information. Mueller is supposed to be trying to get to the bottom of this thing, but he doesn't care about the real evidence. And of course, as I'm sure you guys have covered this story, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that the person who got that stick was Seth Rich, and he
Oh god, they're gonna go over the, like, Seth Rich getting murdered thing.
then died under very, very suspicious circumstances, to say the least.
Even his family was like, guys, knock it off. Stop conspiracy theorying over the death of our family member, you dicks.
So we can discuss that, but first I want to get up to date with the tweets that Kim.com has just made. The first one on January 5th, 2019, because this guy, probably more than anybody else on Earth, is in a position to know what WikiLeaks is going to do, how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, and this is explosive stuff. So
74
your
Quinn
seatbelt,
74. I love Tinfoil
All right, we are
Tuesday.
ready.
Thank you.
January 5th, 2019, Kim.com. I smile every day watching the app.
Is this video really going to be just about, like, Kim.com tweeting stuff and assuming that Kim.com is an honest, accurate source? Why? Why would you think that?
Aftermath of preventing Hillary. Deep state exposed. Fake news exposed.
Oh yeah, this sounds like a very unbiased and truthful source.
Department of Justice and FBI exposed. I am happy that you are more informed than ever. 2019 will reveal so much more.
We're in 2020. We're almost at the end of 2020, and nothing has come of this, like, vague tweet that, oh, 2019 will be the year all is revealed. No, you just sound like a jackass now for lying. Is Kim.com in prison yet? Hold on. Kim.com. Arrest and extradition, district court. Mega Upload legal case.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tentacly Alien Man with 45 bits. Tinfoil is the only good thing about Tuesdays. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if you'd say that if you had to wear it, though. It gets very, very hot. Did he end up... Let me see. Convicted posted? Or is this ongoing still? When's this from? This is from 3
There's nothing
years
funny about the
old.
tools of
He was
capitalism.
extradited, but I don't know if there's anything. Kim.com loses appeal on extradition. That's from 2018. 2019, Kim.com enters final fight to avoid extradition. The only thing Kim got right was that the FBI was exposed as a tool Trump uses to go after Antifa. Yeah, let's just see. They have a current Twitter. Well, they're tweeting, so they're apparently not in prison. Yikes.
Get ready for the next round of leaks. Monumental stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's 2020. Nothing happened.
When did he write that again?
January 5th, 2019.
So this is brand new.
Yeah.
That's public. So look, you can't get a better leak than that. You can't get a better insider than that right now.
Wait, why? Why are you considering him a valid source? You haven't explained why you think that Kim.com knows things. What?
Somebody who's already proven his bona fides in the
There's
public
nothing
eye.
funny
We
about
know
the
who
tools of
No, you can't just say that. Someone founding a pirating website does not give them clout or credibility in any way. What are you talking about? And all you've referenced is the fact that he tweeted claims that were not backed up. So what are you talking about? And the big kicker here, this is saying that, ooh, big things are going to come out in 2019. And here we are at the end of 2020 and nothing has happened. So shut up. The lies are so exhausting from these people. Here's the Venus thing. Scientists. Oh, God. Washington Post. I'm not going to sign in right now. Other people can look at it in the chat, though, if they want.
who this dude is. We know he's got direct connections to WikiLeaks. It's even
And so he has friends at WikiLeaks. And what does that mean? It means he has friends at WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks, which we know has pushed false stuff. Like, remember we looked at a while back those documents that were like, oh, this is a police training thing, and it shows the symbols that pedophiles use, and it was complete BS. So we know WikiLeaks has released false documents before. Why would you trust them at this point?
talked about in the movie about him to some degree. You can't get a much more credible source than this. And what is he saying? He is saying that 2019 will be monumental and that we will learn much, much more. Now, let's just hold on a second, because all of the really upsetting stuff that has launched this whole movement that's led to incredible censorship on YouTube, on Twitter.
Oh no, they're censoring my ridiculous conspiracy theories. Edge of Wonder has 464,000 subscribers and they're still putting out regular content. Why is it that the people who are always like, oh, woe is me, we're being censored, like, they just won't shut up? Clearly you're not being censored.
On Facebook, you know, you're just getting blocked. You can't even say these terms anymore. You know, we're all kind of like in this fight or flight or freeze mode, you know, and right now we're kind of in freeze. Like, wow, you can even say this word that starts with a P and rhymes with hate, and just saying the word, they're scanning for that, right? Audio and in writing. And if you say that word, then you could lose your channel, you could lose your page, and they've been banning pages on Facebook that have like millions of followers, right?
Good. Facebook is a cesspool and it needs to be nuked from orbit.
And one thing to note is, why censor people for using that word?
I don't even know what word they're talking about. Starts with a P and rhymes with hate. I have no idea what they're talking about.
If it's not real. Like, people need to think this through.
Oh. Pizza. Pizzagate. That's what they're talking about. You know why they're censoring talking about that stupid conspiracy theory? Because conspiracy idiots like
There's
you
nothing funny about
riled
the
a bunch
tools
of
of
crazy
capitalism.
people up, and then a guy brought a gun into a pizza restaurant and threatened people in a family pizza restaurant because of this ridiculous online bullshit. That's why, because it's dangerous, and it takes people who are already on the edge and vulnerable in terms of, like, their mental stability, and it pushes them right into the part where they go, I should bring a gun into a family pizza restaurant. That's why it's getting banned, you idiots. Can we throw Twitter in that nuke blast as well? Yeah, sure.
Right? All the mainstream media are being like, oh, you're crazy if you think this, you're crazy if you think this, you're crazy if you think this. Then
Yes, you have provided no evidence. There's never been evidence of any of these claims.
why censor it?
Because it's dangerous. I've explained this, and I'm sure it's been explained to you.
There would be no reason to do this.
But to kind of answer that from like a devil's advocate perspective, right? It's because you're spreading fake news.
Well, that's
You guys unironically use the term fake news. So yes, you're the people who are all like, oh, CNN is fake news, which sure, I don't agree with CNN and I think CNN is stupid, but like, unironically, you guys are spreading much faker news. You're spreading complete BS constantly. It's the entirety of your channel. So where do you get off trying to say like, oh, this news organization, I think they're spouting fake news. Oh, really? Tell me more about the military grade robot raptors, please, you friggin' idiots.
That's what they say, or it's hate speech or something. But come on, like.
But I mean, really, yeah. I mean, but it's okay if you talk about, killing Trump on YouTube, and it's okay.
I
But it's
don't
usually-
think that is considered okay. Like, I'm pretty sure if you do that, the Secret Service comes and talks to you.
say pizza, it's like, oh, that's bad.
Well, hey, you said it, I didn't. So if this video gets taken down, it's your fault. It's on your back now.
Don't worry, we have ways
How is this channel still allowed to be up on YouTube?
of muting Ben for dropping the word he wasn't supposed to. We're supposed to say donkey gate.
Yeah, or pizza fence. That's what we've been sometimes calling it.
Well, look, guys, as you know, the scope of these crimes is horrific, and I get it. A lot of people, it's much, much more fun to attack the messenger.
What is with this, by the way, the framing of just like, here's a quote? Like, you can't just have the video... Here are quotes by the guy that's a correspondent for us. Like, this is pretentious and self-important. Imagine if I just, like, in the middle of the stupid things I say, had a little box come up and it's like, here's a thing I just said verbatim, quote from Hannah Reloaded. Like, it makes you come off as a huge dick.
Than to accept that the message might be true. So
No, you haven't demonstrated that it's true, but it has been demonstrated that this false information leads people to take actions that endanger the lives and well-being of others. So that's why. It's not like, oh, we know the truth and it's so hard and no one wants to listen to the truth. It's that you are spreading false information that is hurting people.
you kind of have to cut these people a little bit of slack who are working for these social media giants, in that they don't want to believe that this stuff is true. They can't fathom that this is true.
It's not true. It's not true. Why do you find it so hard to recognize that what you're saying is crazy and that you haven't substantiated any of it? What are you guys gonna do when, excuse me, whether or not Trump wins or loses, eventually he's not gonna be in office anymore, and nothing will have happened with all this QAnon BS. Nothing will have happened. Like, how are you going to cope with that when years and years down the line, doomsday still hasn't come? Like, what do you do as a hardcore believer when that happens? I don't know.
And so in their mind, perhaps they feel that they are helping us by stopping the spread of this upsetting information that radicalizes people and prevents us from really understanding the truth.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's that, but unironically.
But There's a really big problem with this, which is how can we survive in a society where our
There's nothing funny
Mafreeze
about the tools of
Peach.
capitalism.
Tucker White, 94. Let's be honest, Hannah. QAnoners will just adapt and say the Democrats are hampering their operations. Yeah, probably.
Constitution guarantees us the freedom to assemble, the freedom of speech. How can we legitimize corporate giants who are only interested in profit
Welcome to capitalism. It sucks.
and in furthering their brand and in gathering all our information and surveilling everything that we do? How can we be okay with them completely leapfrogging over the rule of law, elected government officials, and to start to decide that they are going to become our censors? That is fascism. That
Private companies deciding what's on their platform is fascism. Also, by the way, vote Trump. These people are ridiculous self-parodies. This tinfoil, it's terrible and I hate it.
that is a
They accidentally just made a great point.
corporate-controlled dictatorship, and it's
If you want to talk about the ability
There's
and the
nothing
fact
funny
that the
about the
public
tools of
square of the
capitalism.
modern world is owned by private entities, fuck this piece of tinfoil, I'm getting a new one. That's fine, but then you need to make public the things like Twitter, things like Facebook. But right now they're not. They're privately owned, and privately owned companies can decide who can use their service and why.
not appropriate.
Do you wonder?
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is too is on the other side, people are saying, see, your capitalism isn't working, and therefore we need to have something like communism because look what's happening to our society. The companies are gaining everything and we're losing. And one thing that we're really trying to clarify in our videos is that these are the people lobbying in the government, these big corporations, and they have their agenda, right? We covered like the
Do I recycle the foil, Hannah? I don't think so. I think it just goes in the trash. I know, I'm terrible.
committee of the 300, and recently, like on Jimmy Church, I heard you talking about various different corporations. I mean, they're all making this money off of the people. It's like on the surface, they look like they're promoting capitalism, but it seems when we start really digging
There's
into
nothing
this and
funny
doing our
about the tools of
research,
capitalism.
their goal is
Graham Delfini, thanks for subscribing.
really to push communism. They want people to think that capitalism isn't working, or the
It isn't.
whole plan of the deep state is to really bring communism.
Communism! Oh, good. I was so disappointed I missed the Cold War the first time. I'm glad I get to be here for part 2.
In our society. I mean, that's what they've been pushing
Well, and
with so much.
and the ironic part of that is that when you do that, it is still the same group of people that are benefiting at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, there's still someone on that throne that's making choices with all of these things, and then everyone else is completely leveled out. So you've
No!
lost your property, you've lost your personal freedoms.
Again, whatever. This isn't Chud Watch. I don't have time to explain this shit to these people. Look at the video I posted to YouTube yesterday from the stream yesterday
nothing funny
about
about the tools
me
of
dealing with a
capitalism.
libertarian who completely mischaracterizes socialism. Hoika Man, thank you for subscribing.
You're fed, you're clothed, and if they don't like you, that's it. It's over pretty much, right? So it's just, there's a very bizarre thing going on. And to your point before, with these topics, it's like when you start censoring people like they're doing, right? On the surface, like you said, it looks like, oh, they're protecting us.
No, we didn't get false flag operation yet.
But you nailed it. It's like,
There's nothing funny
we
about
have to
the
have a
tools of
society
capitalism.
where when someone
74 Quinn 74 capitalists are communists is a hot take I didn't expect.
makes a claim as big as this, that we can talk about it. I mean, holy heck, if this is true, if kids are being treated this way, if people are being treated this way,
They're not. QAnon isn't real. None of this is real. Stop spreading lies.
and these social media apparatuses have censored that. I mean, who's going down? I mean, really, at the end of this, who's going
nothing
down? I
funny
mean,
about
that's
the
like
tools
such a
of
serious thing,
capitalism.
right?
Absolutely. And so when I'm referring you guys back to this Kim.com quote, let's be clear that the entirety of that discussion that has led to all of these videos and all of these blogs and all of these people speaking out about child trafficking, about human trafficking, about Satanism, okay? Those things.
One of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong.
All were triggered by a WikiLeaks data dump of emails that happened in the immediate weeks before the election actually happened. So Kim.com is sitting on top of a mountain of existing data. They have looked at how the entire world has responded to this. He's aware of the censorship. He's aware of the information. He's aware of what we have learned. So then when he actually says here, 2019 will reveal so much more.
Nothing happened in 2019 in relation to this.
Deep state exposed. Fake news exposed. This is really, really heavy. We're not looking at anything that you could play off as if it's not a big deal. He is prognosticating data dumps and information leaks that will dwarf anything that we've seen before, which is why he says monumental
funny
stuff.
about the tools of
So I
capitalism.
really want to just underline
He
that
sounds a lot like
and
Jordan
bold
Peterson.
that
He
and make it
does. He
clear
does sound like Jordan Peterson.
that as we head into this new year, we are being promised a treasure trove of new information. Now,
And yet nothing came out in 2019 that bolstered the claims of QAnon or the believers in QAnon. What a shock.
the scope of that information apparently includes this idea that tribunals are actually underway, that arrests have already been made, that people are already on trial. The intel includes...
And yet here we are in 2020, and nope, no one's been arrested for this supposed QAnon bullshit. What a
There's
shock.
nothing funny about
the
tools
fact
of
that
capitalism.
there are
Sadly, this guy is more eloquent than Jordan Peterson, though that wasn't a high bar.
apparently several locations in the U.S. where these sealed indictments are already being unsealed, where people are getting picked up, they're getting brought in, they're being put on trial,
None of that's true, if I need to tell you that.
and they are receiving their sentences. And so we're hearing inside reports about all these boats that are going to Guantanamo. We have reports about Guantanamo being completely overhauled, that they're
Imagine hearing that a bunch of United States citizens are being put on boats and taken to America's gulag and thinking, yay! Suck authoritarian dick harder, folks. You gotta get on Edge of Wonder's level.
building it. They're building all these new facilities there. So this is really incredible stuff.
So, like, yeah, recently Trump, there was a bunch of things where Trump approved, I think it was like $200 million to add on and fix and build up Guantanamo Bay. And so that was this big question, like, why, you know, if they were supposed to...
Probably because it's a relatively old facility. I think it should just be torn down. But considering the government doesn't want to do that, if they're going to maintain it, they're going to maintain it. It probably takes a lot of money to get people out there to construct and maintain facilities that are out of date and potentially crumbling.
Like, I think Obama's plan was eventually to shut it down
That would have been nice.
and not use it anymore. But then it's like, why are we putting all this money into it and fixing it up and doing and adding more to it if it's not, or who are they expecting to bring in? That's the question.
I don't know, the same people that they always bring in, suspected terrorists, stuff like that.
that I'm kind of raising, I guess, you know, and more for the audience out there to think about, you know.
All right, so while we're on this topic, because there's a lot of things that I'm hoping we can cover here, I want to read you the next Kim.com tweet, which happened on the same day, January 5th, 2019, because these two really need to be seen side by side. So if you're ready, let's hit you with that one. January 5th, 2019, Kim.com. This year, the criminals who run the deep state will be exposed. The shareholders profiting from war and chaos. The billionaires who turn democracy into an illusion. They own politicians, judges, and all your data. They are the biggest pirates in history. Do you want to know who they are?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And he said, get ready, it's going to be monumental stuff. So this is super exciting. It's anybody's guess what's going to happen. Now, let's talk about the next thing.
We're a year and 7 months later and nothing has happened. For the record, nothing has happened. It turns out getting information from the founder of a pirate website isn't really the best way to get your political information. What a shock.
So, knowing David Wilcock, the next thing could be anything. The movies, or AI, or both, and more. Tune in for part 2 of more unbelievable truth bombs dropped straight on you from the one and only David Wilcock, right here.
That's the one where he claimed that robots are being, that like Terminator robots are being invented by the government. Anyway, that's enough Edge of Wonder. I hate those guys. They're the worst.